Title: Echoes of Midnight. The chill in the air on that New Year's Eve was enough to make the bones ache. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, I found myself wandering the dimly lit streets, the glow of festive decorations casting eerie shadows on the snow-covered pavement. The echoes of distant laughter and the muffled sounds of celebrations created an unsettling backdrop for the impending night. I had decided to escape the raucous parties and find solace in the quiet solitude of the town's outskirts. The moon hung in the sky like a spectral lantern, illuminating the path ahead. The air seemed to thicken with every step, and the anticipation of something otherworldly lingered on the edge of my consciousness. I reached the edge of the town, where the flickering streetlights gave way to the enveloping darkness of the surrounding forest. The trees stood like silent sentinels, their skeletal branches reaching out to the heavens. I hesitated, the forest's mysterious allure drawing me in even as an inexplicable sense of dread took hold. As the final moments of the year ticked away, I stood in the clearing at the forest entrance. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant pops of fireworks signaling the arrival of the new year. A shiver ran down my spine, as if the woods held a secret, waiting to be unraveled under the watchful gaze of the moon. With a deep breath, I stepped into the forest, the crunch of snow beneath my boots the only sound. The shadows danced on the trees, casting illusions that seemed to move with a life of their own. A soft murmur, like a distant chant, echoed through the woods, sending a chill down my spine. The farther I ventured, the more the world around me transformed. The path twisted and turned, leading me deeper into the heart of the ancient trees. A sense of disorientation settled in, and the usual landmarks became indistinguishable in the inky blackness. Suddenly, the forest came alive with a strange energy. Whispers seemed to float on the frigid breeze, and I caught glimpses of ghostly figures between the trees. They moved with purpose, their ethereal forms swaying to an otherworldly rhythm. In the clearing ahead, a spectral congregation materialized. Their faces were obscured, and their movements were synchronized, a silent celebration that mirrored the revelry in the town. I watched in awe as the ghostly figures twirled and swirled, the air pulsating with an unseen force. As the clock struck midnight, a bone-chilling howl pierced the air, resonating through the forest. The ghostly figures ceased their dance, turning their featureless faces toward me. The wood seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the newcomer to acknowledge the unholy communion. I stood frozen, unable to tear my eyes away from the ethereal gathering. The figures advanced, their movements deliberate and haunting. In that moment, I realized I had stumbled upon a realm untouched by the living, a spectral celebration hidden within the heart of the woods. As the ghostly figures closed in, the echoes of midnight carried a sinister melody. The new year had begun, but in the depths of that otherworldly forest, time seemed to stand still. The air crackled with an energy both ancient and malevolent, leaving me entangled in the haunting embrace of a New Year's Eve unlike any other. Title: The Cursed Countdown. The invitation to the New Year's Eve party had come unexpectedly. A cryptic note slipped under my door that simply read, "Celebrate the turning of the year at the old mansion on Hollow Hill." Intrigued and fueled by a mix of curiosity and loneliness, I found myself navigating the winding roads that led to the dilapidated estate. Hollow Hill loomed on the outskirts of town, a decaying relic with a history steeped in mystery and whispers of the supernatural. As I approached, the flickering glow of dim lanterns illuminated the path to the mansion, creating a ghostly aura that seemed to dance in the chilly night air. I stepped over the threshold, the creaking door protesting my intrusion. The air inside was heavy with the scent of aged wood and neglect. The flickering candlelight cast long shadows on the peeling wallpaper, giving the mansion an unsettling sense of life. The grand hall awaited, adorned with tattered streamers and faded banners that had likely witnessed countless celebrations in the mansion's heyday. The guests were an eclectic mix of townsfolk, their faces obscured by masks that seemed to harbor secrets of their own. As the clock neared midnight, the atmosphere shifted, and a haunting melody emanated from an antique gramophone in the corner. The revelers gathered in a circle, their movements synchronized with an eerie precision. The air crackled with an unspoken tension, and a cold wind whispered through the cracked windows. The countdown began, the numbers echoing through the cavernous hall like a macabre. The guests, shrouded in anonymity, raised their glasses in unison as the clock struck midnight. In that moment, a sinister energy seemed to seize the mansion, and a ghostly figure emerged from the shadows. The masked guest bowed in deference to the spectral presence, their movements mechanical and devoid of free will. I felt a strange compulsion to join the eerie dance, my limbs moving against my own volition. The atmosphere grew suffocating as the ghostly figure beckoned, its hollow eyes fixated on mine. As the countdown reached its conclusion, the mansion itself seemed to groan with an otherworldly resonance. The walls pulsated with a malevolent force, and the air grew thick with a chilling presence. The ghostly figure extended its hand toward me, an invitation to join the timeless ritual. A sense of dread clawed at my consciousness, and I resisted the spectral pull. In that moment of defiance, the illusion shattered. The grand hall fell into an oppressive silence, the masked guests frozen in their unnatural poses. The ghostly figure's eyes bore into mine, a silent threat lingering in the air. With a sudden jolt, the clock struck 12, its chimes reverberating through the mansion. The guests, released from their spectral trance, dispersed with a collective murmur. The ghostly figure retreated into the shadows, its presence fading like a wisp of smoke. I stumbled out of Hollow Hill, the oppressive atmosphere lifting as I left the decaying mansion behind. The echoes of the cursed countdown lingered in my mind, a haunting reminder of a New Year's Eve that transcended the boundaries of the living and the spectral, a celebration cursed to repeat for eternity in the dilapidated halls of Hollow Hill. Title: Whispers in the Frost. The town of Winter Haven lived up to its name on the eve of the new year. A thick blanket of snow covered the landscape, muffling the sounds of revelry as the townsfolk gathered in the cozy warmth of their homes. Intrigued by the promise of a unique celebration, I decided to attend the enigmatic New Year's Eve gathering at the old, secluded cabin on the outskirts. As I approached the cabin, its time-worn facade hidden beneath layers of snow, an eerie hush enveloped the surroundings. The flickering lanterns in the windows cast elongated shadows on the frosty ground, and the air crackled with an unsettling energy. The door creaked open with a subtle invitation, revealing a dimly lit interior adorned with frost-kissed decorations. The air within was frigid, and my breath formed ethereal clouds as I stepped inside. A handful of people, their faces obscured by scarves and hats, conversed in hushed tones around a large, antique table set with an array of peculiar items. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, the atmosphere in the cabin grew tense. The attendees, wrapped in layers of winter clothing, exchanged knowing glances. A figure emerged from the shadows, a mysterious host with eyes that seemed to hold ancient secrets. Without a word, the enigmatic host gestured toward the table, signaling the commencement of an unusual ceremony. On the table lay an assortment of items, a crystal vial filled with liquid that shimmered like starlight, an ancient tome bound in weathered leather, and a delicate silver key with an ornate handle. The guests gathered around, their collective breath visible in the icy air. A voice, soft as the winter breeze, echoed through the cabin. Tonight, as the old year fades and the new one emerges, we partake in a ritual to glimpse the threads of destiny. The ritual began, each participant contributing a symbolic offering. The vial was passed, the book recited from, and the key turned in a silent lock. As the last echoes of the ritual faded, the cabin seemed to exhale a sigh of otherworldly relief. The room darkened, the lanterns flickering as though fueled by unseen forces. Whispers, like the rustling of frost-laden leaves, filled the air. The temperature dropped further, and I felt the icy tendrils of an unseen presence brush against my skin. A vision unfolded before my eyes, a tapestry of past and future entwined. I glimpsed fleeting moments of joy and sorrow, successes and failures, as the threads of destiny danced in the frost-laden air. The visions left an indelible mark on my consciousness, an imprint of the intricate web woven by fate. As the clock struck midnight, the ritual concluded, and the atmosphere in the cabin shifted. The whispers subsided, and the temperature gradually returned to normal. The enigmatic host nodded, acknowledging the completion of the mystic ceremony. I stepped back into the snow-covered night, the vision of destiny lingering in my thoughts. The cabin faded into the wintry landscape, and the hushed town of Winter Haven welcomed the new year with a profound stillness. The whispers in the frost, the threads of destiny, and the enigmatic gathering became a tale to be shared in hushed tones, a story of a New Year's Eve that transcended the boundaries between the mundane and the mystical.